My name is Mark Beecher, and I'll be your host tonight. Our special guest, returning guest tonight, is Martin Rivera, quantum hypnosis practitioner, to present extraterrestrials on Earth missions. So welcome, Martin. How are you tonight?
All right, thank you, Mark, for having me one more time and presenting this new or different topic, really. Related to what I had presented for the first time. But thank you so much again for having me.
Very good. So these, I think you have some case histories you want to discuss with us.
Yes, exactly. First of all, for people who doesn't know me, well, you already present me as a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner. I've been doing this for the last 8, 9 years or so. Oh, I'm sorry, just my camera went off. All right, sorry about that. A little something about the computer, but anyway. So the cases that I'm going to present, first of all, these are cases from people under hypnosis. So to be clear, first of all, I do not, I'm not a channeler. I do not do any, I'm sorry, keeps bugging this. Okay. I do not do any readings or interpretations. Everything comes out of the people's mouth under hypnosis. So the following that I'm gonna share with you and your dearest audience is, it's actually I'm reporting all these about these cases. People who had been extraterrestrials, really. There's a very taboo yet in society about extraterrestrials, but we clearly have found, during hypnosis, that we all had been extraterrestrials at one point, or actually we are, because if we take a look from the higher consciousness or from spirit. Oh, it keeps bugging again. All right, I'm sorry about that. I hope it doesn't keep doing that. But anyway, um, just bear with me. It's the magic to be alive.
Right. We can still hear you, so it's
All right, great. So, what I was saying, like, if we take a look from the higher consciousness or from spirit, time and lives, they do not appear as past, present, or future. That's our linear way of human thinking, because that's the only way we know. But from the spirit side, everything is happening at the same time. It's sort of like parallel lives kind of stuff too. And everything, it's actually the soul knows about it. Our limited human mind, it doesn't know. But the soul, who we truly are, it collects all this information, all these experiences, and it fits back and forth in order from one to progress, to evolve, to grow, to expand our consciousness, really. So, during this process, all these people that I'm going to report, sharing to you, they had no idea whatsoever. They had no background whatsoever, like I said, about the extraterrestrial life. They had no even interest about it. So all these people, they came for really, from emotional distraught, from traumas, from from depression, really. Couple of them. So they come to me because they really explore other, the conventional medicine, point of view, even going to, certain psychological therapies. But they prove, there wasn't enough for them. So that's why they approached to me to dig into hypnosis and to find out more about it, to find the root cause and to really, heal themselves. Like we always say, we are not the ones to, we only facilitate for them to be in that state of hypnosis so they can find their own answers through, as the concept, the higher self, spirit, or source, who's the one who's providing all these answers and healing. And of course, it's the same source who selects the kind of quote unquote past lives, that are more appropriate at this time for the client. And before I start, sharing this, I want to make another note. Even though you guys hear it like this sounds kind of crazy, it doesn't for the client. It makes sense for them because it's related into their own soul journey. So I'm just gonna share. It's just like segments, and what I witness, these interactions and these missions in particular that they are taking place right now, but not only on Earth, but in other parts of the universe. So as I am gonna tell the story, so you guys will understand it. All right. So
Okay.
if you have any questions, anything, just please interrupt me. It's fine, and I could keep telling more about it. So I want to just refrain case by case, and we want to stop, of course, and see if you come up with some questions, or even the audience. If you have audience, please write your questions, and we're happy to answer afterwards. All right.
During their hypnosis, were they aware that they were expounding on these lives, or were they just weren't really aware until after the fact and they heard the recordings?
That's a very good question, Mark. Some people they do, just part of it, no, 100% as we're speaking right now, like each one of us have their own, self awareness, but some they do like segments really or fragments of whatever they're experiencing. Others they sometimes they don't remember anything, it depends of the person, but not 100% really the ones that are like remembering everything, not really. I could say like maybe they remember 50-60% of it, but all the details when I start making questions about it, they go like, oh, no, I don't remember that until, like you say, until they hear the recording. So the whole, like you pointed out really good, we record the whole sessions for the client so they can hear it afterwards, days and weeks to come. So yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
All right.
So what is your first case?
All right. I'm gonna share the first case. This is a very interesting because this person I'm gonna put names, different names of it, of course, to protect our clients, real name, but we're gonna substitute their names. And the first name we're gonna call it Laura, so that'll be more easy for me. So this is very interesting because Laura, she came for the session not exactly for her, but actually for her 9-year-old son who was having this irrational and very aggressive behavior. So, in this kind of hypnosis or this technique, we can, dwell into the information of third parties, as this example, it was her son. So we call this a surrogate session. So, in this case was the mother. So that was the intention of her, coming in the session because she, like I said, she tried, going to, the conventional educational system or the medical system, and she had no, answers from it and whatnot. So she approached to me, looking for that answers or recommendation of what's going on with his son. So it ties everything up at the end of the session. So I'm going to explain this first. So this has to be with one of her dreams. And this, she told me about this dream that it was like repeating over and over in certain time, like weeks and so on. So and the dream was like this. She's telling me like she was dreaming being at the beach, like walking, following someone. And she told me that she felt like she knows this guy in the dream, not in real life. She says, I don't know who's this guy, but I don't know. It feels familiar for me when in the dream. So I'm following this guy at the beach, walking on the sand, and we found these paths like round. They look like spheres. That she told me they were like halfway were transparent, and the other halfway was like solid, silverish white color, and it was like two of them. So the guy hops into one and she goes into the other one. And the dream goes like this. So these spheres start like levitating, like kind of like a vehicle, they start levitating and they go into the ocean and they go into the water for a few seconds and they pop out of the water. And this is where she starts describing this like like very high tech city or civilization, and she described me, observing these like spacecrafts, going around the city, like beautiful buildings, and they go into this port where these humans, kind of like human like us, there's a whole commitment, a commit that um, they have a welcoming, and they talk to these people and they try the food and they go on and on, just talking and so on. So that was pretty much, there's all the details in the dream, but it's pretty much like that. And then she said, like, every time I have this dream, I always feel tired, like physical tired, like she had not rest during the sleep time. So anyway, we present the questions to Source when she was under hypnosis. For those who never heard about the quantum healing hypnosis technique, so we require to the client or the person to bring their own list of questions of anything they can think of, from the lives, and even dreams like these ones, or weird events or paranormal activity they encounter in their lives, whatever. It doesn't matter. So we always present these questions to Source when Source is speaking through the client. So anyway, so he was the answer for from this dream. All right. So the answer from Source was, well, she's actually she's actually going to missions, like going to another places. And my question as a facilitator is like, my job is to do the right questions, to be curious about, because in that way, we dig more into the truth for the client. Because not all the time, Source doesn't explain you, it doesn't spills the beans, right away. Sometimes a dialogue, like an interview, really, or like a really friendly conversation. So he goes like, well, she's in a mission, and of course I forgot to tell you about the first live that was presented during the session, because that ties it up too. So the first life that Source presented is like, she's actually, the scene, how it started the session is like she's observing Earth from space, and she's in a suit, like a kind of like an astronaut suit,
Okay.
and she's like floating in space with this suit. And now my question is like, can you see something around yourself? So our job is not to suggest, but to make questions. We always let the client describe whatever the best they can, their surroundings. So my question was like, can you see what else is, besides Earth down there, is anything around yourself? And she goes, no, I cannot see. I said, look to the right, nothing. Look to the left, above, below, just Earth. And I go like, okay, I want you to just turn around. And she did. She goes like, there's my mothership.
Mm.
I was like, okay, so I want you to go there, please. And he goes, yes, I can go there. So she went there. She got into the spacecraft, and then she's like, please tell me, what's the first thing you see? And he goes like, well, it looks like it's empty. And she's like, I'm in this room where full of tools and all the things around, but I don't see anyone. So I go like, I want you to go to the place where you rest, you know. So we went to the place where she rests, and they say, I can see like kind of like a bunk bed. She's describing like a bunk bed. And he goes like, but there's no one around. It looks like it was, she said like, it looks like there was a lot of people, there was a lot of people in here, but there's no one around. So I go like, so the next thing I go like, can you go to the cockpit? So go where everything is taking place, where the lead command. And he goes like, okay. So she went right away, and he goes like, okay, please describe me, what do you see? And she started describing me this huge screen, like, and then this recording playing over and over, but it's repeating itself. But it's like kind of like what would you call, like, it wasn't like very clear. The recording was like it looks like it was breaking down, because he said like, I can see lines, but there's someone behind talking. I'm sorry about that. It keeps just doing that over and over. Sorry about that. Hold it. Just bear with me a little bit. I
Okay.
just change it. Okay. I got it. Yeah. All right. And now is not the time. All right. So we camera, high definition. Okay, got it. And then, it became what worst. Sorry about that. Okay, got it. Oh no. So I'm gonna keep describing anyway. Please bear with me. And then, and he goes like, "Well, there's someone, but it's a broken message that I can barely can see." And she was able to hear the message like, "We had to evacuate," you know, and but the rest of it she wasn't able to understand it. And he goes like, "It's some of they evacuate the whole ship, and I'm the one left behind." And I
Lucky
was like,
you, right?
yeah. So it's like I'm the one left behind. So I was like, so what are you gonna do? She goes like, well, I'm gonna head to Earth. I was like, okay, so let's go. I said, let's go to Earth. And I was like, very curious question, like, how do you go there? Because I thought she was gonna take a craft or something, you know. She goes like, no, I just need my space suit. And I was like, so how do you do that? So, and I remember she was like, because you had to lay back, like sit on the bed. And she goes, I just go like this. She moved her face, her head forward. And I was like, okay, whatever. So she landed up in this lake and some town in Europe, that, as we perceive it. And she was like just wandering around, going to from store to store, observing, collecting things. And then that's when, she started telling me, okay, she started remembering everything, what was the mission. And it goes like, now I remember what am I doing here. And I was like, okay, here we go. I was like, so what is your mission? So it goes like, well, my mission is to collect information from humans. And I was like, what kind of information? The way humans think, act, and their spectrum of emotions. I was like, why are you interested in our humans' way of thinking and emotions? He goes like, because we perceive that humans are kind of like aggressive sometimes, and we try to help. I was like, why? Because like we detect that you guys develop nuclear weapons, and we can see the history of humans that always fighting each other. And that weapon, that nuclear weapon that you guys, tested and use it against other humans, it really affect our planet. So we try to help in that way. That's why I'm exploring and I'm living between humans or among humans. And I was like, okay, so and my following question was like, where actually are you from? He goes like, where I'm coming from another galaxy that humans doesn't know yet, but we are connected as the whole universe is connected to each star system and so on. I was like, okay. So, and my following question was like, so what is your physical appearance? And he goes like, well, we look like you humans, except that, oh, again, here we go again. So much interference. So he goes like, well, like half of our population doesn't have face. It's like they're faceless. And the other half they do, and they bald. We don't have hair like you guys. But I was like, so why half of it have face, the other they're faceless? Well, it goes like, well, the faceless ones they can present their face as they wish. So for them, it was no issue at all to really have or change their appearance as their wish. So I was like, that's very interesting, you know. So and then and I go, so how do you guys procreate? That's what when I start, that's my curiosity. So how do you guys procreate? And they go like, well, we have female and male as you guys, but and I go like, do you guys have sex intercourse? They goes, no, we don't do that. And was like, okay, so how do you guys procreate? And she started explaining me that when they know the time to procreate, they go like, there's like a light being comes out of our minds, and we have, the female and male, facing each other at some distance, and each one of us, emanate that beam of light and meets at one point, and from there we start creating the being.
Okay.
So they were like more, more high evolved or mental, and I was like, do you have a language? They go, no, we don't use language. We are, as you consider, like telepathy. That's the way our communication is. I was like, wow, that was something different. So anyway, this tied up to the dream that I'm speaking of, that I was saying first, because that's when sources started telling me that, that was part of her mission, like collecting information, and not only in Earth. And he goes like, because who's this guy first? Who, she remembers this guy, even the name. She told me about the name was Matt. And he go, well, that's his partner on missions. And my question was like, well, where is this place where these bubbles, this spacecraft pops out in this, out of the ocean? Is this in Earth in the future or somewhere? And he goes, no, that's another planet. And she goes to another missions or different missions in different planets, because she keeps collecting information for that civilization. And that was my question. So what do you guys do with the information? And they go, well, that's the way they're trying to understand and try. They're always looking for ways to help humanity. And they say that's not the only one civilization they're doing that. There are many others they're doing that in their own way. So that was, the first. And I was like, okay, so how does it ties up the, whatever is happening in their house? Because that was her main, goal, to know about her son. And it ties it up very beautifully, because source explains that she made a contract with the soul that is his son, because this soul personality, as he was evolving, he was very animalistic. Like, he wasn't very adapted into human form yet, and that's why he was very aggressive. And explained that he was even from he had past lives even from ancient Roman Empire, and he was a soldier. He kept
Mm.
incarnated as a soldier, and he could fight to the death.
Right.
And she agrees to be part of this family that she had, in order for her to prove her patience, and to observe and experience more the spectrum of emotions.
Right.
Okay? How ties it up her issue into her reality.
Right. She wanted to become very intimate with aggression.
Exactly. You see how clever is the source when they present this story, her own reality, that what she's doing actually, and in the dream state per se, but it's not. She was doing all these missions, and she was this ET from this other civilization in other galaxy, really, but coming to Earth doing the job, and plus being as a human.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting?
It's and it makes me think about some of these Hollywood script writers that they know these stories and they're just trying to convey them to us, to
Oh yeah, yeah.
give us a little
Yeah, no doubt.
foreknowledge of what's coming,
No
So
doubt, I mean, as far as I know, when they do like these kind of like conventions or lectures or conferences around the U.S. and the world, many of the writers they go to these shows to pick up new ideas, you know, and
yeah,
you know, and they read books from people like Dolores Cannon, and of course they add their own stories and all that, but concepts are like already using in different ways in TV shows and movies. As a matter of fact, I know that Daryl Anka, who's I don't know if you know if it's Daryl Anka is one of the channelers, very very famous channelers for over almost 40 years already, and he channels a guy, a being, an extraterrestrial being called. His name is Bashar, and he talks a lot of these concepts about timelines, past lives, and all these metaphysical stuff that is really true. And he was he's one of the writers from the Marvel, productions and movies about these superheroes like Thor, Doctor Stranger, and so on. So, you know, they know already, So he's feeding, some of this idea that they are exploding right now. So, it's another way for the audience because we're ready as a civilization. We are ready to understand all these different concepts now.
True, true. We hear rumors that our governments are trying to give us this information little bit by little bit, a little spoon feeding us this type of information. So,
And in reality, we actually comes from us, really, from the civil, population, really, because it's like any other civil movement. The government doesn't hand it to you. We had to fight for it. Just look at the civil rights movement.
right.
You know, the independence, the U.S. independence from the crown. It wasn't hand over. We had to fight for it, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it doesn't, it's not different what we're doing right now because as you see the news, they keep saying, oh, it's real, oh, it's not real, it's real. It's, you could clearly see there's like a division, or there's like two facts. The ones like pushing for disclosures and the other ones they don't want to change at all. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Right?
Right.
So, but it's actually, the whole disclosure is coming really from us. Like you guys, what we, as we speaking into these topics, people will hear this and they expand their consciousness. They start questioning their own reality too, and to see further more than we what we previously thought of our narrow belief systems too. You know what I mean? So, any other question, Mark, so far?
Well, it, it brings up a lot of questions, right?
Right? Yeah, I know, right?
And this is in the course of human development. And we always go back to like around the world where every civilization basically developed pyramids, you know, in South America, Central America, Egypt, everywhere around the world. There's sort of this central theme of pyramids,
Yeah, that's right.
and it's always sort of like, well, conceptually that came from some alien life, you know. You know,
Very much.
they say those are alien communication centers.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, there's a whole lot of information. Even the famous show of Ancient Aliens, they bring all these, even speculations, or they pointed out, really making the right questions. When, like you said, there's many structures around the world that are very similar to it. And and basically we just follow what archaeologists they told us. It doesn't make sense,
right,
based on the weight of tons of rocks. They're like, or slates, they're like huge, and they weigh from 1 to 10 tons or even more. Even with our own machinery that we have, power tools, it's very hard to do it. So let alone thousands of years ago.
right, right. And we don't know that history. I mean, it's very secretive already, and still very mysterious. The history of humans 10,000 years ago. What
Exactly.
was going on,
Yeah, no
and
doubt.
then it leads us to speculating that a lot of it was alien life. That
Yeah, So, but you already heard, Jen Sullivan, when you guys had said Jen Sullivan the show, right? And she brought a lot of information about it too. And it's people that doesn't know or is not related to the ET phenomena in all of these. She had no idea. That's my point. That's when it brings more, credibility. When these people had no background, and they're not even interested about the topic. They just, they're doing their own thing, they're doing their own lives, their own professions, and so on. And these things comes up in these sessions, So for me, it's very, very valid, in the way, of course, very healing for them to understand their own reality, right?
right.
All
Um,
right. So we
so you
move
have
to the next.
The next patient, the
Okay, the
next client.
next client case. All right. So here we go. I'm gonna leave the third one for the best. All right. So I'm gonna leave
Okay.
the second one. So in this case, I wanna name um, our client Mabel. All right. So she was actually, the session. Well, she came for the session. Even she had depression. She had, many very traumatic, very abused childhood. You know, and mistreated and so on. So she was having a really tough time, for the last, years of her life. So she came, to, to improve her own life, and to move forward, and then that this is the first scene that she start, experience. This is very interesting because was her second session. It's usually like majority of people who come for a session is, I could say, like 60%, a little more than 60% is only one session will do it all. But in other cases, source determines they had to come back for a second session. So this actually was her second session. And even in the first session, it was another extraterrestrial life that was presented to her in order for her to understand her own pain and all these tough experiences and painful experiences, really. So there was something in that past life as extraterrestrial that it was presented to her in the way it was developing. And at the end, really, she understood. She made this contract to come to Earth and experience the duality, because on her other reality as a extraterrestrial, they lost the sense of life. They were like, they were stuck in their own evolution. They were brink of extinction, really. you know so she came into agreement, to come into Earth and to experience this polarity and the suffering and all that, for her to understand the light, per se, you know to understand the love and the caring and the kindness and so on. But I'm gonna tell you right now, so this was her second session. So this pretty much ties it up, the same, her understanding. So she started describing me that she's in this lab, you know. So she's like laying back, and she's like kind of sleeping, and but she started telling me right away that she's observing this planet. So it wasn't Earth this time. She's telling me even the name of it. Even they say there's no name of it, but we can translate the frequency of it. And she told me that that planet was Urus. Urus, yes, Urus. And she was like, "This is not my planet, so but I'm trying to help." And I was like, "Okay, can you describe me? What do you see?" And she was like, "Well, I'm watching this kind of like moon shape in the planet that is a city, and there's a civilization that thrives there." And I was like, "Okay, can you keep describing me?" And then like she was like, "Well, I'm I'm with a team with others to try to help this civilization, because they know there's changes are coming for their own planet, and they need to change their ways of life and ways of thinking, because they have to go along with the planet in their own evolution. Otherwise, the planet will just make their own atmospheric and biospheric changes, and that could be the end of it for them. So they say we're trying to help them, you know. So she told me there was like a group of 24 families. That was very interesting. 24 families and four members for each family. And they say we're using a body similar to that civilization. It's like, it sounds for me like very similar to the Avatar movie.
Okay.
If you've seen the movie Avatar, right?
Right. Right.
So it was their conscious transfer to other bodies that they created. and they explained that they were like kind of like human looking, but they're not kind of human. They had arms, legs, but they say their arms were like longer than regular human. They say they can reach up to down the knees, and the beings were like tiny. They said like compared to humans, they were like not even an inch taller. So we're tiny beings really in that civilization. So because she starts describing like she felt like she was like a size of a rice. That's how
Okay.
she
Yeah.
she compared it to. And he goes like, we try to help, but it's too late. So somehow during the session, she saw the whole, changes where earthquakes, water just rushing into the city, totally destroy it, and they start to evacuate the planet. And then for a few seconds, she starts struggling. It was like, everyone left, so I'm the one left behind. So that was another one. It was like, and then she goes like, I don't remember what I have to do, and she started, kind of like becoming very distraught because she's like, I forgot already. What am I? What I have? Where should I have to go? And I was like, I tried to calm her and like, don't worry, something will happen. Just be calm and so on. And all of a sudden, she snaps like, ah, now I remember. She goes, now I remember. I'm back into the lab. She goes like, oh my God. She goes like, I thought it was so real that I already forgot for some reason. And then she started describing the lab again, and I was like, okay, so what is your actually physical body? She goes like, well, my skin is like a greenish, like olive green tone, and I was like, how do you, do you have, she goes like, I have arms, hands, and of course legs, and a head, just like us, but they say my head is different than the humans, and of course, and the eyes are much bigger, you know. And then I was like, how tall you are? And he was like, well, compared to your civilization, I'm like the size of a 10-year-old boy. So kind of like probably like 3 feet and a half or so,
Right.
know, and then or 4 feet, So I was like, okay, so what are you doing there? What are you guys doing that mission? He goes like, well, we are from a civilization that are advanced compared to humans, and then but the funny thing, it was like the being become conscious during the session. This is what's very interesting, Mark, because you usually we speak into the subconscious part of the entity that we're speaking of, but because of of this civilization, it was another, you know more, what we could say like a 5 or 6 density of dimension. Some more people are more familiar with dimension, but it's actually more density, more light per se. And she become conscious of the session. She goes like, who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
Because she was speaking slow, like kind of like sleepy. That's how that's how most of the session, they go like that. But she became aware, so she was, laying back. It was like, and she was running like, who am I speaking to? And she turns around, because I'm on the side, and I'm like, oh, that's you. So, and from that moment, she was like, oh, you're making so slow questions. I was like, okay, so, and it goes like very superficial questions. So I was like, okay. So I go like, okay, so I want to know what is your social, political, economic, and religious structure of your planet. Oh, she goes like, oh, so you want to know the comparison from my civilization to yours? I was like, yes, please, can you do that for me? He goes, yes, I could do that. And she starts speaking more faster, and she described me like, they actually, they don't speak neither. They're like another one were like very, very telepathic, and they say we don't speak. We kind of like, she described me like they transfer images and information so fast. It's like while you guys take a while reading a book, it's just kind of like like the human said, download it into your mind, and we know the information already. I was
Right.
like, okay. you
That's
know
you. That's useful. I like that.
right? So, So she started explaining me that, she was kind of young from their civilization. I was like, so how long, what is your lifespan? And it was like, she told me about like 60, like kind of like 60 years, but it's not the same years that you guys have. It's like more than that. She goes like, okay, so it'll be more like hundreds of years of yours. I was like, okay. And then they say, in this case, they say, I asked them, so how do you sustain your bodies? And they go like, well, we're still eating. He said, yeah, we're still eating. We have a mouth. And then they say we have a kind of like a cereal. And they do like this kind of like, they concentrate kind of like juicing, very concentrated, like this very small amount. And describing me like whatever they have, it was kind of like oatmeal. She was comparing to like an oatmeal, a substance that they only requires one tiny little cup, and they say they have all the nutrients that we need through the day. You know, and then I was like, so how does it taste like? He goes like, well, it's kind of like tasteless. I was like, oh, that's boring. And she goes like, oh, well, I can see what you guys do, what you guys eat. You guys have in Earth so many colors, so many food to try. And I was like, that would be interesting to inhabit your planet.
Yeah.
And that's what she said. I'm like, oh, I'm already doing it through her, through the client. And then, of course, she started describing me that they say, well, we don't have economy. They say, no, doesn't exist. We don't have money. We don't need money for anything. I was like, do you have a political class? They said, no, that doesn't exist. We all connected through our minds, and we're always looking for the best of ourselves, and we share. That's why we help other civilization that like you. And that's why she was trying to help this other civilization in this other planet, because he said once we evolved, we understood that everything is connected in the universe, and we help out of love.
Okay.
See, to try
So
to
they
help
don't,
others.
right. So they don't have conflict. They're unified.
Exactly. They come to the point they're unified, and they don't have political class, they don't have economy, they don't have money, they don't have neither religions. They say that we know that creator it's within ourselves. We are an extension of the creator. And once we realize that, they say as a civilization, we start helping others indirectly and sometimes directly, because there's like rules and regulations and principles in the universe. So they say that this is, whatever I was experiencing, helping this other civilization, we did it very carefully. We only trying to influence in a positive way for them to thrive, to survive. But that's all we can do. We cannot give technology. We cannot give more other concepts that they cannot grasp on. But as they, to respect their own evolution. I was like, oh, okay. So, we talk more, all the details about it, but basically that was it. She was like, well, and it was a common. We came into a point where she said, well, all Mabel's question, I can answer them. I was like, really? I was like, can you do that for her, please? And she did like, oh, she only took like 3 seconds, and she did this like kind of gesture like this, and was like, and she goes like, it's done.
Yeah.
I'm like, but she needs to hear them, so she can hear in the recording. Like, and the answer was very good. It was like, well, every time she goes into meditation, she will get the answers. Okay. So she had a list of like 40 something questions anyway. So, and then and here's the other question that I always ask, how do you guys procreate? The same, and that was very interesting, because that was another way to procreate. And they go like, well, I asked them, you guys have females and males? They say, well, not really like that. We have both of them, both of the sexes, really. They say we don't need another partner to procreate. It's like when the time comes, we know when is the time. and to bring a being into being, into be. And then I was like, so how many millions of billions are your inhabitants in your planet? It goes like, well, my planet is like this little more bigger than your moon, you know. And we cannot, she explained like, I don't have that information because I only, I know since the time I was being born and coming to the lab, I knew my mission already, but I don't have the information. But I know that every time if someone wants to bring a being, there's a consensus, based on whatever we produce, in the planet, related into what is sustainable for the planet for ourselves. So we don't have a demographic, issues about it, So nobody goes hunger, So I was like, well, that's very wise, to have a balance what the planet can provide, and it goes like, so my following question was like, how to actually is the process of procreate? And he goes, well, the being, it forms in our bellies, and it comes out of the belly. Is it down the belly or not? She explained me that they have a different hole, really, a channel, kind of like the solar plexus of our, kind of like similar to our bodies. And they say that's how the being comes out. But the difference is like, well, they know already what do they have to do in life. They know already their purpose of life. Even though it comes out like a little bit and it grows, it goes like they grow like very rapidly in the first year or so. And they come into our, to our average size in a little more than a year or two. And they know already, what they're gonna do. And they explain me that they have no schools. They say they move them from family to family, and sometimes they gather a group and they intermix with more elders and younger. It's not like our educational system, but they say the difference like they already know what they actually have to do, their life purpose, so that's a clear advantage too, so
And this whole planet, the whole planet was all basically all one culture. And it's not like on Earth we have just the
yes, it's
plenitude
only
of
one culture. Yes,
cultures, but they're
it's only one.
unified, right?
Yes. Yes,
And
it could be shows like one state or so, one country,
right,
And they explain me they have buildings that levitated above the ground. They say we take care of our planet. She explained me there were animals in it, like were mammals too, and different ones that don't have an Earth. But there's like a lot less of variety of species, really. She said like our planet is very rich in flora and fauna, like compared to theirs, but they respect the whole planet because they said we don't, our buildings are literally levitating off the ground, and they use telepathy to move from one point to another point, because that was my other question. How do you guys move from one plan, from one building to another, or you guys want to go to to another part of the planet? He goes like, we use teleportation. I was like, what kind of teleportation? Is that technology? He goes like, no, with our minds.
yeah,
It's like that's natural for us. But here's the tip. She told me like, you guys human have it too, but you guys doesn't know how to use it yet.
right.
See?
Um,
And she's playing me one another analogy. He goes like, humans are like this pea, and it has a cover over a cover and a cover, or layer of layer after layer of these beliefs that doesn't allow you to see your true potential. See?
right, right. We, um, that's what I was going to ask if they had an opinion of what our development is, and I guess that's the opinion is that we're closed,
Yeah, she's playing me
embedded
that
in these, you know.
yeah, she say eventually we will come to that point, to realization that we don't need none of those, economic and political structures and so on. So they say, well, you guys will come to that realization, in time. You guys, going towards that. So, it's just generations to come.
Right, right.
You know?
I
But yeah,
I don't know of any group or central part that's expounding on that at this point. It's,
there is, Mark. I know a group in India. They did this project. It's called the Aurora Project,
okay.
where actually there's no money of it. It's only a large community. I believe the last time I checked it was like a couple of years ago before the pandemic. It was a large group of almost like a 10,000 people working to this project that they don't use money. They all contribute with their own skills and profession and just living and supporting each other
Okay.
without the need of money.
Yeah.
So it's happening. And I'm talking about when the project started, maybe was in 2012, around that. I'm not sure yet, but probably because I knew about it, after that. But yeah, it's going on. I knew some groups that were trying to do in California, but they got moved, they got arrested by the government.
Okay.
So,
Um,
but yeah.
but these personalities they were afraid of the nuclear energy, right? Nuclear energy could have a real negative effect on the universe.
It's not only the nuclear. I found out through another session that was even our pollutants, like the combustions that we burning from industries, from the oil, because
Mm,
everything runs in oil. Yes, those components of pollution, they reach other planets and they've been, creating havoc in other planets as well. So I just find out in another session that I had a couple months ago. But that's for another topic. But yeah,
right,
it's not only nuclear radiation, it's other pollutants that we are keep making in the atmosphere that goes into other planets.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, so
that's those are
so
things we don't really think about. You know.
exactly, because we haven't reached that awareness yet, and the economic powers, they don't want to let go. you know
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like just the king doesn't want to leave the seat. It's like, no way, until I die. But yeah, so the whole session, it ties it up when she realized that she say, I love this part when she say, we are the same soul, and whatever she experienced in this life, and all their human experience, we learning from it too, as well, that she's gonna learn what actually we doing, in this other civilization. So it was kind of like cheerful and very motivating that she actually is doing more than she think of, as because she works in the medical, she works the nursing home, and she's doing by heart, and she's like very dedicated, and have very beautiful and paranormal, experiences in the nursing home. But she understood why she's doing that, because it's like she explained, like, we always want to help. That's part of our personality, in that way, that what she's doing in their job as a human is very rewarding, because many of these souls that she's helping to this through this transition. She explained, like, the way she treats them by heart, she's smiling and all that. They say many of these people were left alone at the nursing home, and their smile and their true dedication is like an oasis for them of love, of unconditional love. And they say, and all these souls are here. They were presented at the session. She was able to see them. It was a large group, and they all
I,
say they thank her for her true, unconditional love, what they did for them.
um, now these people under session, uh, did they remember other previous human lifetimes, or they sort of zeroed in on these alien lifetimes?
It's some of them, yes. Sometimes they see other past lives as a human, of course, but like I said, they presented these ET lives, really, because, like I said before, it makes sense for them. In one of the traits is, like, sometimes people doesn't feel like they belong here. They don't belong to the country or the family. They feel, kind of like a misfit, or really awkwardly during the life. And of course, when they presented these lifetimes, it's like they still remember, they're still missing the all, the other civilization or the other planet, really, But they come to the realization they it's part of their growth, because once we graduate from one school, you move to another one, just like we did, in
Right.
our in our life, just the same, but in a different way when they realize that during the hypnosis, it's like something fulfill, yourself, it's very rewarding and very healing because they now remember that okay, I did this, I graduated from this, now I'm capable to do this too, it's part of the adaptation again,
Um, to human existence, these are linear lifetimes, but
hmm
uh, in this session, these are parallel lifetimes, right? That
everything's parallel really.
everything's parallel. Um,
Yeah, everything's happening at the same time
oh, okay, so it's just happening at the same time in different dimension.
in other exactly in other places as well, in other parts of the universe, you know
Um,
but yeah.
so actually, we're when we talked about they can move from one place to the other just by their thoughts.
hmm
Um, they can actually move from one dimension to another just really
yeah,
by their thoughts
yes,
and
some of them they can do it, yes, they can do it so easily. I mean,
and
mhm.
communicating through source.
Yes,
Mm,
yeah,
okay.
they can do it. Sometimes they are aware of these other existences or these other lives as the ones I presented. They know about us, but like I said, as a humans, we cannot see it because it's part of the rules or regulations of the planet. Not to remember. That's a challenge. But they do have the ones are very more advanced, or they develop more consciousness. Yes, they're aware of us. You know.
Yeah, very nice.
It's like you having neighbors. It's like your own version, but in another building. But the neighbor on the second, third floor, they can watch you, because we're on the
Right.
first floor. But the ones we are on the first floor, it's like I don't see anything. It's just like
Yeah.
just one floor house. But no, there's other ones up on top. Like an analogy.
Right. And basically how much information do we want to gather about other individuals? Some are closer,
Exactly.
some are we're not so interested in.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So they know for the purpose of education really and mind expansion and consciousness and all that. That's why Source allows these all elites the client to see these lives because that's what I love about this because Source knows exactly what you need at this time. It won't show you something you don't understand, but it won't tell you short. You won't fall short. It will tell you exactly what you need at this time. That's why sometimes I said, for some people they will present one lifetime or past life, sometimes two. Some of the clients will have three, or sometimes releasing all these traumas that we have emotionally, mentally, and that we had accumulated during of this incarnation, this lifetime. Sometimes they do that. It depends. Sometimes they show me like future lifetimes too. It's all kinds, really. You know.
um, does source ever acknowledge that we're not prepared for the answer that it has? That say I can't give you that answer because you're not prepared for it.
No,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
gives every client whatever it needs at this time. It might tell you something that, like I said, that's why every session is very different from one to another. It gives you the right information for you to move forward in life, to heal yourself. So it's not the same that it might present. That's why I explained these three different ones, and I'm telling a little bit of the background, so for you guys can understand a little bit better. Of course, there's more, there's more details, of course, but I just try to stock, to try to tell whatever in easiest way, and plus we have a limited time,
Yeah.
you know.
is
So, but
is
yeah.
Is the quantum hypnosis expanding as a field of study? Is it getting larger? I know it is, just in terms of looking at the Dolores Cannon
Mhm.
practitioner list, that it's growing. But is it growing exponentially? And is it something that 10 years from now is going to be huge? Or
I don't know, Mark, really. I'm not the one in the academy. Maybe, like I said, Diane Morrison might answer you that because she's one of the teachers at the academy. Or Holly, she just became another teacher of the academy. They might have that information. I don't. So
all right,
so
now you have another example you want
yeah,
to
I want to give another
discuss?
example, the best one,
Okay.
because I got more details on this one. So
The
all right.
closing act, huh?
Okay, the closing act. You guys
Okay.
gonna love it. All right. So uh here it is. Okay. Well, let's put a name, Nikki, all right, about these women. And she came for the session very depressed, really, not very confused, not she was very she got another mystery as a child. Um she tried many things, she was looking for something more deeper to understand why she had the parents that she had, and so on. So this is why these kind of sessions are very profound, because you find out why, you know. But anyway, that was, again, this client was her second session as well. It was tell by source to come back. When we did the first session, there was one of my clients that it was recommended that she had to come back in 3 weeks. I never heard that such a thing like that. Usually like months, when they say, but 3 weeks, I was like, right away. But anyway, I'm gonna go, start. So this is, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna read the session because I want you guys to hear the details. All right. So bear with me. We already have 1 hour, right? Ark.
Yeah, yeah. We're
All
doing
right.
good.
So
We're doing good.
all right. So here I go. So this is how the session starts. She goes like, I was on an exploration mission on a desolate and uninhabited planet. It was red. It had standing stones and pyramids similar to those found in Egypt. I proceed to take some soil from that planet in my hands. My hands were blue and only I had 3 fingers. See? Much larger than my human fingers. I would let the soil fall from between my fingers. And by doing that, I had the ability to visualize the history of that place. So that she was very highly, psychic as a alien being. She
Right.
said, I observed the past of the beautiful city with floating aircrafts, people wearing elegant clothes, architectural buildings with such beauty and many golden tones. And there was water, there was vegetation. It was a civilization was thriving. And it goes like, but the ego in its society led to its destruction. The unfair division of resources among its inhabitants and their overexploitation led to the planet running out of water. And this caused the culmination of its splendor. I compiled information on a transparent tablet and proceeded like a computer, and
Right.
proceeded to return to my spaceship. So that's when the time, when we're exploring this, I was like, okay, my question was, what are you doing with this information? And it goes like, well, I had to present it, to my civilization, to a council. And I go like, okay, can we go there right now? It goes like, yes. And she continued, when I arrived on my planet, I found myself at front of a council of beings just like me. Our society has no particular ruler, only a group of high frequency beings. My job is to go from planet to planet to obtain information and present it to these beings. I am a historian of the universe. We use the information I collect to learn from other societies around the universe, to learn from others' mistakes. And that way we persevere as a civilization. So here we go. And then she continues. It's a note. Now this is a note from the blue bean. See, this is like, if you guys heard when I read, it was like in first person, as Nikki, right?
Right.
Now is the blue bean. Now she described it like this blue bean with 3 fingers, and they don't walk, they float. So they have very light, light body, really. Okay, so this is the note from the blue being. He goes like, when we first came in contact with Martin and Nikki during the hypnosis session, we felt what you would call discomfort, since for a moment we perceived it as an intrusion. We were a little reluctant to share information about our society and our planet. We house so much information and take care of our loved ones, so much that we perceive this interaction as a danger. Since we have seen numerous destructions of societies with frequencies and densities similar to theirs, that our protective instinct came to light. However, as we scanned their hearts and perceived what was happening, a sense of curiosity surrounded us, and we became present in that interaction. We knew that source, with capital letter source, had allowed it for the personal and collective growth of this group. It means to the council. So when we became aware, we sent them our greetings. This is interesting because when they say greetings, they did like this in gesture like this, they all like stand up
Right.
and they go like
Yeah.
this, you know, and then
Star
and
Trek.
yeah, kind of like Star Trek. Yeah, it was because they are three finger beings,
Yeah.
and it goes like Nikki could perceive our frequencies and translate them into human emotions, since after all, we share the same soul. See? He's specifying they share the same soul. We answered their questions according to what our council allowed. We showed them that our society consists of asexual faceless beings who communicate telepathically. However, despite being asexual, we do have male and female polarities. It is the females who create life, but unlike human beings, we are created with our hands. From a blue light, she was doing it with her hands like this, like describing like a sphere, like the ones I have in the back, like this,
Right.
you
Mhm.
know. Um, a blue light, and the participation of a male figure is not required to procreate. Our mothers, quoting mothers, know when it is time to create a new being, and likewise, we know when it's time to leave this plane. Our lifespan is thousands of years, and we do not require food to sustain our bodies, but rather we remain in connection with Source, capital Source, to survive. Our planet has only one sun. The sky is orange, and the climate is arid. We dedicate ourselves to observing others to learn how their civilizations work, with the aim of improving and preserving our species, as well as growing in consciousness. And it is because of the latter that we have developed the ability to create with our hands. The blue light that we irradiate with our hands is an important part of our connection, although we prefer not to have direct contact with other civilizations. We let Nikki know that she could interact with those through this circle of blue light. So they let him know that she can communicate with her, after the session, whenever she wants to, you know. And they say, we try to be cautious with the information we share with you, since our level of collective consciousness surpasses the Earth civilization. We love you very much and we trust in the plan that the Source has for your evolution. We are always present, only now we are both aware of it. And he goes like, and again, another note from the blueprint. In my reality, I travel planet to planet, collecting information from observation. In your reality, you collect information from experience. That's just telling Nikki, the client, from your reality, you collect information from your experience. We share the same soul. That's twice she told it. We are the same soul. I am you and you are me. We are connected. Our soul chose to live your experience just as it chose me. Your experience captivates me because of your feminine human way of feeling, your abilities to create, and just being who you are. See? So,
Right. And as you were reading that, I was just thinking how much more expansive sources than maybe our initial concept of source. Now, source is I think initially we think source is, well, it provides for human existence, but now we need to go a million times larger than that and go to all existence and really expand. Um, and how much communication takes place every day between all these planets, between all these cultures and civilizations. It's really pretty amazing.
Indeed, yeah. And I always ask that question, if the civilization, share or have trading or whatnot with other one, they say yes. Some of them they say, yeah, we interact with other civilization. Yeah, they do. They say we trade information, they trade knowledge. That's the most precious thing for them because they say knowledge is love. See? So yeah, there's many things. There was another um, way to explain, the question that you just referred to. They explain me that they go like, if you want to know how the universe works, know how your body works. And I was like, yeah, indeed, because there are like billions and billions of cells interacting with different ways, and they have their own purpose, you know.
Right.
If we start going to know exactly how our body functions, it's a group of hundreds or even different cells, but they are connected. So they say that's how the universe works too.
Right.
So yeah, that's why if you hurt yourself in any part of the body, the cells of the immune disease, they will come, they will come to help to repair the injured part of the body. And of course the nervous system will be hurting, you'll be bothered all day, weeks, and so on, but they're doing the job to repair it. See how it works?
The universe is one huge organism. It's all
Exactly. Yes, indeed.
interconnected.
Interconnected. Yeah, in many ways that we barely, try to understand. That's how they explain it to portals and of they go naturally in each system, in each planet. You know. But yeah. So any questions?
Um, well, that sort of brought up the question of, well, the alien longevity, but more so uh, questions about death.
Hmm.
Um, if uh, if at any time they expounded on what death is to them.
Yes,
Um,
some of they explain to me. They say it varies in civilization, but I could say in general terms on this type of civilizations, the more high evolved, they say they know when the time is time to go, and they already know where they have to go in order for them to grow and expand. You know, and for them, they don't mourn, as we do. They know exactly, it was, it's part of the evolution process, you know, and it's a cycle. They really understand that, you know. I mean,
um,
many of them they don't have the feelings kind of or the spectrum of emotions. They don't have, they sometimes explain it to them. We don't know what is envy. We don't know what's jealousy. We don't know what's greed. They say we don't have that. We don't understand that.
but is there a period of when they return to source and remain for some period and then return back to some other culture for future development or training, learning,
Hmm.
knowledge?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Kind of way that we see like in that way, but remember some of them more advanced and they already know where. It's like when you're gonna take a trip to another country or another state that you already expected what's gonna be because their level of awareness, you know, it's
Right.
like, oh yeah, I'm going to New York City, It's like I know what I'm gonna do, Not exactly in more general terms, but in the big, part of it, yes, they do, because they're more high evolved, but it doesn't take away that living as a human experience they know is hard. Is they say there's one of the challenges planet that exists in the universe. It's a challenge. for any being or any soul who wants to sign up for Earth is very hard. And they say, you guys are masters. You become masters once you graduate from Earth. It's like very respectful. Yeah, they recognize that, because you learn a lot.
It's a tough playground, right?
It is, yeah. They said that it's very tough. Even in the second session, yeah, the being from Urus, there was, she explained like, oh, it's very interesting to be in your planet. It goes like when she tapped into the whole memories of the client, she goes like, oh no, I'm good. He goes like, I'm okay in my civilization. You guys had to work so much, He goes like, it's so hard, but it's so beautiful. It's so rewarding too. So it could be both, Mark. It could be really hard, but it could be very, very rewarding. So, all right.
Very good. As always, we just end up with more questions and questions and questions, and not even questions like I need to know. It's more, it's enlightening just to have a discussion.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for having this space, this time for speak about these topics. I guess I hope anyone could resonate with this and helps everyone's in their own journey to their progress and their mind expansion.
And we want to thank you. You're always very informative. You give us a lot to think about. Give us a lot to be optimistic about the future. And, we think, okay, things will generally always be getting better. So, thank you for that optimism. So
we don't have no choice.
we have no choice.
We have to.
So again, for this program, we here every Tuesday for an hour or so to discuss topics, get more information, and become more knowledgeable. So thank you. And thank you for everyone listening. So.
Thank you too.